We're starting off high.
We can get a two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot. Ah!
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust a human to raise back wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you. Yo, what up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Do Fools Agree. As always, I'm your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings. What up?
Hello.
Hello. Why you seem unsure?
right. Like I had the double dutch on the end of that.
He's like, what's going on?
I don't know what that was. I'm all right.
You doing all right?
I don't think you asked me that.
Yeah, I did now. It'll work.
Well,
We just
I'm
Tarantino'd
all right,
that bitch.
I didn't hear the first question. I just shot. Maybe that's why I blacked out for a second. I wasn't even here.
What? I blacked out.
Mhm.
Was
I
that,
just woke up
is that old
on
school?
air.
Is that old school where Frank gives the answer?
Right.
James Carville is like,
right.
That answer
At the debate at the
correct.
end. Mm-hmm.
We have no response.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
I mean, not much, man. It's been a relatively quiet week, which is a nice change of pace, and just trying to keep busy and not keep busy, but keep on task, really, more than anything else. So,
Okay.
working through that. Good times with the kiddo this week. Last couple of nights, and I mean, work was smooth, which is the best I can hope for at this point. So, fingers crossed. Right. Fingers crossed. All right, man. You got any inadvertence to get us going?
I do have an inadvert.
What you got?
So, I was thinking the other day, like, do you think, and I know the question itself is going to sound weird, but do you think that the devil has ever changed hands?
You mean like the title of it has gone to somebody else?
Right.
Interesting. I mean, it depends on what you believe the devil to be, right? Like,
okay,
is he truly the counterpoint to God, to the creation story? Like, or is he that's where that's a little tough. Like, if he's the antithesis to God, which would mean omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing. So, omnipotent,
I don't think he will be
omniscient.
though, right?
No.
Like, if the story is true, right, that he's the angel cast from heaven, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was never on the power of God in the first place.
True.
So, using that, just the traditional devil, I wonder, right? Like, I don't know what was on my mind or why I was thinking, this, but I was thinking like, I wonder if the devil has ever had a run for its money, right? And
So
the reason
something
the
that was
question,
more evil, or like,
not even, I don't even know if I would say more evil, right? Because I would imagine like, and I think we've had this conversation before on here where I said I've always felt 10 foot tall. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I imagine when you die, you don't keep this form because this is just the vehicle you use while you're here.
Luminous beings are we?
You know what I'm saying? So, depending on, I would imagine how big or great, how do we know that a power hasn't come through hell that could have taken the devil out and took its place?
I mean, yeah. I
Like,
think
how
that
does the devil know that the next soul or whatever you want to call it that comes through here isn't that big bad motherfucker on the yard that's like, oh,
I'm
you
taking
thought you was
over.
running shit?
I mean, it would have to be another fallen angel, though, wouldn't it? Like
I don't know.
that's kind of
That
the
could
point.
be.
Is that if Lucifer, the devil, Satan, however you want to put it, if that is a fallen angel, that would mean more than man, right? Or I guess it depends on how you look at it.
And then that question gets, or
This
that
goes into like
gets,
dogma, where they talk about like angels are almost less than human because they don't have free will. They are purely servants of God. That's
right,
what they're
right.
supposed to be. But Satan kind of proves otherwise with being a fallen child.
See, then it makes me go even deeper. Like, so if Michael was cast out for going against God, was he the last to do so? And if
I mean,
not,
that we know
then how
about.
many other may have been cast out as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, there are no recent histories or recent iterations of the Bible, right? No one has added a
What?
book to the Bible in the last 2,000 years. So you have
Well, I don't
nothing. You
know.
have
Can
nothing
you?
that is. You have nothing that is. I'm going to call it Christian dogma or canon
That's a weird
that
question. I didn't
that
mean like,
says
can
no,
you?
no. But I think it's. I mean, it's. That's part of the problem I have with world religions. They haven't adopted and adapted to the times, especially Abrahamic religions, which we'll get into with today's topic at the end. But like, they haven't been modernized. But up until a certain point in history, like that shit was changing every year in terms of what they were
Right,
teaching, what was taught, etc. And at
right,
some
right,
point,
right.
the world religion said, "Nope, we're gonna cut it here, and this is the only doctrine we're gonna listen to." That doesn't make any fucking sense,
Yeah, that is a little weird.
right? Like there are, and especially with
I mean, my
the
question
Judeo.
wasn't to question religion, but
But
it's
but but
like,
it kind of does though, like because there is no documentation after a certain point. Like that's where the Judeo-Christian God and those religions centered around that God, to me, don't make sense because they're all fables and stories, etc. But there's nothing there for the modern day. Whereas a lot of the Eastern religions are more about looking inward versus outward. And I think those are more like transcendental with time.
see, that gets a. I do agree. I do agree with what you just said, but then I ask myself, who would be writing it,
Yeah.
right? Like, who would be writing the new
Well, that's the
Bible or
problem. We
new
wouldn't trust anything
stories.
anybody wrote at this point.
It would have to be those closest to God. And when I
Right.
say that, I don't mean like
The clergy.
preachers or I don't mean anything like that. Like maybe one of them or a couple of them fall into the category, but I mean like those who have had like the near death experience, who have, you know what I mean, heard the voice or felt the warmth, or you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to be able to, and then depending on who writes it, because it's about who really rocks with the religion, and that's all across the world now. There are so many of those stories that it's like, why is mine greater?
Right. Right.
I don't, yeah, that's some deep shit. Like, because if you were, and it's not like anything should be rewritten at all. You would have thought things would have been journaled.
Yeah.
And one of those journals would have, made its way into type shit.
No, I'm with you.
I don't know.
But it has.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, nah, I mean, just to wrap up my initial thought, I was just thinking like, what do we turn into when we die? Like, what do we look like in the form of our soul shed from the skin that we wear? And how do you know that somebody isn't just, like it could be just a whole bunch of butterflies.
Right.
And then you go to hell and you're like bats and shit now. But then there's the gorilla that comes in there. And it's like,
and that's where I subscribe to something that is like, and I'm going to be nerd here for a second. I subscribe to something that is like Star Wars and the Cosmic Force. That when you die, this shell is what dies. But they have said that they have seen like some sort of energy shift away from a person who has died. And that could easily be like your heart's no longer beating, so you're not generating heat, so blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Taking that a step further, like, I think that your soul, your life force becomes one with the universe. And so it's almost luminescent versus anything corporeal than anything physical. So I don't know that, like, at that point there is, like, a big bad versus, somebody that can come out and take them out the yard. It's how do you fit into the greater cosmic force, for lack of a better term. But, if you do have some sort of corporeal shape, being, etc., you could be the next big dog on either side of the fence, I guess.
Well, I don't think it could be either side because God is the creator of all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, he created hell as well, motherfucker. You just leasing.
Yeah. I agree. Checking in
so
with
there.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so there couldn't be anybody above him, but I don't know that the devil in the books that we've known to read has ever had that power.
Right.
I don't know how much he got down there, but how do we know somebody else doesn't come down with more?
Right. I almost look at it as if you're at a certain point of existence, a certain point of being, when you become one with that cosmic force, it basically dictates your reality going forward. So is your reality that you're dictating for yourself, is that material? And that would be akin to the Christian concept of hell? Or is it more ephemeral in terms of, like, it is being at one with that which is around you? And being in harmony versus it with just the other luminescent beings versus, clinging on to the material shell.
Right.
Well, damn, man. Checking in with the
Yes,
chat
indeed.
real quick. The REIT's chiming in with the devil is a Christian construct, but evil exists.
Right, right.
And what about the Book of Mormon in terms of more recent, I guess?
I mean, I'm not going to speak on it because
Yeah,
I
because I've
don't
never
know
read it.
anything about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. But that's a good call out. Like there are other.
Yeah, I agree.
So there are religious things that have
But
religious doctrines and religious stories that have popped up, but none of
but
them has
that's
been
not a
adopted by
continuation of the Christian Catholic.
the Bible,
Right.
the King James.
That's its own.
Right. I agree with that.
And there's others that have been written more recent, but and don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about like a Christian. Maybe it could be a Christian book. Maybe you could throw that the Tree of Life book as a passage in there.
Maybe.
I don't know. It was, and I mean, I think all these things, but nobody knows what's real anyway. You know what I'm saying?
True. Absolutely true.
Yeah, you don't know what's down there, or I mean, I do know, at least in my opinion, that a God exists.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it would be I guess, yeah, it would be my opinion to others, but
right. But
to
to
myself,
you,
it's not an opinion.
That goes into more of like kind of what Kanye was getting at with what he was saying about simulation theory. It's the simulation we've created for ourselves. So in the simulation that you've created for yourself, God exists. And at the end of the day, everyone's is different. And
Right. And I don't knock anybody for anybody's, but
all right.
I don't know.
All right, well, I'm going to shift gears to after that, I don't know if it'll be viewed as as in-depth of an inadvertent thought as yours was. The institution of marriage. I'm going to call it the 1970s, maybe 1980s and earlier, maybe going back as far as the 50s. The reason two people got married was husband was a provider, and this is generalities. I know there were female providers, breadwinners, etc. Husband was a provider. Female would marry a husband to foster a family, to grow a family, but also to ease the husband's peace when he wasn't being a provider. So he took care of things outside the home. She took care of things inside the home.
I mean, I also feel like that depends on the one you married.
I agree. But listen to me, because this is where I'm going to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as society has developed and as women have fought for equal rights, equal control, equal opportunity, those types of things, as they should have, I don't know that the institution makes sense anymore. Because without that provider-caregiver dynamic, what you're left with is two people who are fighting to be the provider, and no one's taking care of the home. And the one who is taking care of the home, and this is me coloring it with my own experience, the one who is taking care of the home is carrying an unfair share of the weight, which is why you see divorce rates at what they are. And I don't know that I see a situation, and this is speaking for me, so don't, if you're in a good marriage and you love each other, great, I'm happy for you. I don't see another situation where it will ever make sense for me to be there again. Because there is no situation right now that I can see, and maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'll find something, but right now there is no situation I can see where me plus another person is greater than the sum of its parts. And I think the point of a marriage was really meant to be, or is really meant to be, that 1 + 1 is more than 2. And if it's not, there's no reason for it. And maybe this is me being bitter, etc., but it's where I'm at right now. And I think some of that, though, comes to women embracing the masculine and forgetting the feminine. And I think with that, men are now like, well, I still want the feminine, but you're trying to be the masculine, and so there is no feminine in our relationship. And I think that is the root of most divorces in this country.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to, I mean, okay, so what I feel like, I do feel like some of that is internal.
It's me, yeah. And I can acknowledge that.
I also feel like there are some truths to what you said. But to round it all up, we've lost our way in general.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that institution that you spoke of is just that, like what you said, it's an institution. It was set up. Everybody knows once you get the government involved in anything, it's going to go downhill.
Yeah.
But if you think about companionship long before the institution came to be, it didn't have to be a masculine and a feminine, so to speak. And I'm not even trying to make
this isn't about sexuality.
LGBT smile. Like, it didn't have to be that, because even when you think back in the day to the Viking era, because I know you talked about the Nordic gods, my woman might fight along with me.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think she's any less attractive because she's out here getting her hands dirty with me.
But I think what's interesting with Norse in particular, the Vikings, the culture around that, and we'll get into this a little bit with the main topic. I think there was always more reciprocity. Meaning you took care of shit on your own, and when you needed help came, as long as you had been somebody that had helped in the past. And I think that's one of the things that I find interesting about, and we'll get into the kind of the Norse paganism here in a bit. But
yeah, I can't.
There's a lot more structure around that in terms of that culture was very much built on loyalty, honor, hard work, resilience, etc. And if you didn't show one of those things, you weren't going to last with that group.
I agree. I agree with that as well. But not to take me too far off my topic, what I'm saying is, it wasn't about the companionship, it wasn't about the institution. It was more about companionship.
Yeah.
It was the person that fit you. You feel what I'm saying? Now, at some point, like you said, that marriage idea came into play where we started calling it that or whatever. That was when it all started, right? And then from then on, all you saw were your grandparents, your parents, all of their, history with that word, term, relationship. And you thought that was the norm.
Right. And then they were the ones that started the whole trend of endless divorces.
That's what I'm saying. It's not hard to rock a motherfucker to sleep. If you rock one person to sleep, he's going to pass that down for generations.
Right. Right.
So if it's by the groups, by the millions, then it's the truth now, because everybody believes it because they've all been rocked to sleep.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I think that makes sense.
To wrap it up, I would never say I would not fully commit to companionship. but marriage is something different to me.
Right. And I'm not, so by no means am I saying I'm not willing to commit to companionship. Right now I'm not willing to commit to one companion, but I may get to that point again, but I don't know that I'm ever going to fall into the marriage trap again. And I see Ashley out in the chat talking about it's a business in many ways, a benefit if your spouse dies, you get their Social Security. That may be the difference between being able to sustain your household or not. And I get that. But guess what? That shit ain't going to benefit us.
And what
Social Security going to run out before we're of age, folks. Hate to break it to my generation. Social Security will run out before we get there.
I'm sure.
So that's not a selling point to me.
What do they always say? You never go into business with your family.
Right.
And that's what that person is. You're bringing them into your family. But if you're looking at it business, like you're already 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
And don't get me wrong. Like, I do think in a lot of ways, a committed marriage type situation is the best way to raise a child in early years. Now, there's a reason why biologically, once they get to 7 or 8, like the whole 7-year itch thing is a thing. However,
what's the 7-year itch?
7-year itch is like marriages typically fail right around 7 to 10 years because you as people have changed. And at that point, your needs versus their needs, they may not be aligned anymore.
I have questions though. Like, how long did you know each other before the marriage?
I mean, we were together 10 years, and we knew each other.
Well, no,
casually,
not you
like
specifically.
No,
I'm just saying,
generally.
based on that being the round number, the average.
Yeah.
What was the average number of years they were
before
together
the marriage.
beforehand?
I think that's a good call. I don't know. And I don't think it's looked at. I don't know that I've seen the stat with that lens to it.
Because, I mean, everything, and that's what I'm saying, everything can be painted with a different stroke.
Yeah. You can make stats say anything you want them to say.
You could have the exact same stat look different, depending on how you
framed it. Yeah.
So
you could alternatively say, like, 40% of all marriages make it past 7 years.
Listen, I just gotta.
You can take the positive. 30% of marriages don't end in divorce. Half of those end up when someone dies.
That may be what you was talking about with the Kanye shit, now that I think about it. About the matrix being what you make around you.
Yep.
And if you subscribe to a lot of shit, see, it's almost to a point. I had this inadvertent thought a while ago, and it just came to me the other day. It's almost like your children are born to rebel. Because the older you get, when you listen to your grandparents and your parents, and you be like, oh, you got a kind of skewed view of
oh shit.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's not that you weren't once right.
Right.
But that's not really it right now.
Yeah.
And it's natural that the older we get, we stick with what we were comfortable with as opposed to the way things are going.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
So if you trust and follow me 100%, then I just fucked you up. I just raised you for the world that I was living in and not the one that you're supposed to be in.
Well, and I think, to be honest, like, that's part of the reason for, I'm going to call it the education crisis. Like, we grew up in a world in the, 80s and 90s where our parents were told they couldn't get a job unless they had a college degree.
Right.
And by the time we got to at a high school, at a college, like, that shit, I think it was on the verge of mattering less again. And I think we are back to a point where it really doesn't mean anything again.
Right. Because it can't mean anything if motherfuckers ain't doing it.
Right. And the REIT's chiming in on marriage again. Marriage was a contractual obligation to provide for children. Well, guess what? The state's all up in that shit too, and they fuck dads.
Not gonna say that's not the truth.
They do. They don't give a shit about fathers. The state at all.
But that's by design as well.
Right. You can be near equal earners, and the dad will be the one that ends up paying support. Despite the fact that he's the one that pays for everything anyways.
In some situations.
All right, that's me getting bitter. I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip off of that one. But coming back to the original point here, my thought on it is women are going after the masculine in terms of being the provider, the protector, the blah blah blah. And there is no feminine in the home. In a lot of homes.
No, now, so let's pull back from the generalization of feminine and let's get more specific and say there's no nurture in the homes.
Fair.
And that's 1,000% correct.
And there's no nurture for
but
the
feminine
child,
consists of so many other
the child
things.
Or for the spouse.
In a lot of cases, but again, not all.
No, not all.
But yes, in a lot of cases, I will agree.
So yeah, I ran my mouth on TikTok and I posted something like that earlier, and I got good comments back. And it wasn't anything like negative. It was more like, I don't see what's in it for me ever again. There is no situation
but those are
where I
also
think...
coming from. Listen, those are also coming from motherfuckers that have been in the situation.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No, and I realize that's an echo chamber thing too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Sometimes
you gotta pull back. You gotta get the views of those who, like me,
but I mean, but it
40 and has no plans at all,
right,
in the future of pursuing anything like that.
Well, that's why we're having this talk now. It was to get your take.
Nah, me, I'm not. That's just not. Like I said, I believe in before all of the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So, in order for me to get in a situation like that, that has to be my balance, my counter. And that's a lot to ask for as old as I am. Not saying like I'm old, you know what I'm saying?
No, but I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like,
I'm not going out searching, like, you know what I'm saying, like the youngins are.
Right.
So it narrows the market in general.
And I know you're gonna hate me saying this because I know you don't like the word. You're comfortable not having someone.
Right.
You are more comfortable by yourself than any desire to go find something.
Right.
And guess what?
Right.
Same. Like, if it's there, great. If it's not, I'll be all right.
Right. Right. Right.
And I know there's probably people out there that are going to hate to hear that, but it's the truth.
The crazy thing is, and why I say it is some truth to that, is the modern day woman, I guess you could say, like the modern day, like, because there is, again, some truth to that. And the modern day, what's the word I'm trying to get at? Like average,
yeah,
is driving a lot of men to not wanting to deal in the first place, right?
Right. Well, and I think some of that becomes, especially as we get older, and I say this from my perspective, this may not be yours. The return on investment isn't there anymore. For me at, almost 40, to your point, creeping up on 40, the beard says I'm already there because you can see it. It's coming in white right here. there's no return on investment there for me. I don't get benefit from being in that situation. The only thing that I have is a negative
on
return.
What the benefit is. And if that's, like I said, if that's my counter or my balance, I don't need you to pay for a thing. I don't need you to do much, but be what you are to me.
But that's my whole point, is that you have to be a value add to my life. And that doesn't mean financial. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything in particular.
Right.
But the second your drama outweighs your value, or your need for attention requires more of my time than I see value from it, I'm done. And guess what? I don't fucking need it.
I can't say that like I don't live like I am on that team. But I also feel like you can't look at relationships like an Excel spreadsheet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't look at it like a bar graph, like time to return.
Well, I guess that's...
I don't think I'm willing to do this today.
That's where it's not at any given point in time, but it's total value. So I will take it back to like financial value. That's the lifetime value of a customer.
You heard me say I live life like that.
Right.
So that really makes me hypocritical in a way, but I know as much once I divulge or dive back into that reality that I can't look at it like a spreadsheet.
And I don't think it's I don't think it's really a conscious thing. But if you are taking more energy than you're giving me,
oh no, right,
I'm out.
Right. There's a level. There's a gas tank.
I am not at the age or the station in life where I am going to chase.
Correct. And I'm not going to entertain.
Right. So either you're in or you're in, or you're out or you're out.
I like to court. I like to get to know you. But absolutely. I'm not going to entertain anyone.
Well, and I'm willing to do like the things that show you I'm thinking of you. Like I'm willing to send flowers. I'm willing to like have something shipped to your house for you. I'm willing to do all the chivalrous things in terms of like open the door, those kind of things, smack you on the ass when you walk by, like yeah. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go out of my way and detract from myself to do those things anymore.
But how much did it detract from yourself before?
Well, I'm divorced for a reason.
Completely
what have I said? And Cliff, what have I said though? What have I said about that divorce? What have I said about since the day I separated? You were one of the first people to call it out to me. Jeff was the other one. Called it out to me within 10 days of me leaving that house.
Oh, that you.
This is the happiest I've seen you in a long time. That tells you.
Right.
And now I don't let things get to that point. Like, I don't let it get to the point where it's taking away from me. I'm selfish now.
Well, you can't let you have to be to a point.
Right.
Again, I think I said this on the podcast before, but there's a reason why they say put your oxygen mask on before you put on anyone else's.
Yep.
Because you can't help anyone else if you're dying with them.
Agreed.
So you have to, I don't like calling it selfish, but you have to be self-aware.
Right.
And there's a certain level of need that you have to meet for yourself before you can ever start fulfilling for others.
Completely agree with that. Which is why I take just as much time to myself as I do having fun. Now, I will circle back to the chat real quick because the chat's been blowing up. We got the ladies in the chat tonight. So the Reeds said the whole marriage was a contractual obligation to provide for children. Superfan chiming in with societal structures under which women would have had to seek a mate financial stability, procreation, sexual experience have evolved.
That's a good point. I like
and I
that.
think that's a great point.
I like that.
And then she follows up with marriage has become antiquated as those societal systems have changed.
Right.
And then
like college, huh?
Right. And then friend of the show, Ashley Ashley and the Reeds agreed with Superfan there.
Yeah, no, I do too. I do. I agree with that.
And all three of them are strong, independent women. Good for you.
I agree with that. That is a good point. But yeah, no, I do think a lot. See, it's interesting, right? And this is episode 130.
Yep.
We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to check back in, right? Because
check back in this time next year.
Even if it's at episode 182, you feel what I'm saying? We're gonna have to check back in. But the only reason why I say that is because all of this is still fresh.
Yeah.
It's still a very fresh situation.
Speaking of which, and I don't even think I've told my mom this yet, so this will probably be the first time she's hearing it.
Drop that hot footy.
February 8th. That's the dissolution hearing. The saga is coming to a close.
That's what's up. Is it like, assuming everything goes well, it's done on the 8th?
Yep. All of our paperwork is signed. It's a Tuesday.
Damn. Can't do shit on a Tuesday.
We at the club on a Tuesday.
What the fuck, Joe? Listen.
I have to take that Wednesday off. You can try to find me on the 8th. On the 9th.
Listen, I might have to try to take that Wednesday off.
Fuck it, we're going to Vegas.
Keep an eye out on you.
The problem is that the very next day I have Andrew, so...
It's not a problem.
No, I just mean in terms of, like, being able to go celebrate or anything.
It's still not a problem.
That's true. All right.
Ain't no airplane trips.
Right. That's more.
But that's not a problem.
I was trying to hop on a plane and head to Vegas.
Yeah, you would like to. Yeah.
I might go the next weekend. Catch me outside. How about that?
How about it? I'm about to start me an OnlyFans. I need a couple of dollars in my pocket. How about that?
And you can find Cliff's link tree in the description of this video.
Listen, it will be there.
I bet you could pull a couple dollars. Probably all from dudes, but you know, can't.
That's that wild shit, man. That's that wild shit. That is that wild shit. That's why motherfuckers just don't hop into OnlyFans.
Oh, the Reach chiming in. The 8th is a Wednesday. That's right. I had my days mixed up. All right. Let's see. The Reach chiming in. Everyone's selfish, which is in direct conflict with the myth of putting another first. I agree with her there.
That is the truth, huh?
And we remember birthdays, and that was a dig at me for forgetting her birthday. Love you, Mom. It wasn't that I forgot her birthday. I forgot what day we were in currently was the problem.
Right, I know that feeling.
I had no idea what the date was. All right. So shifting gears. Wanted to talk about paganism. Modern paganism. And I wanted to start off with...
You have to teach me, baby.
The actual definition of a pagan. And the actual definition is a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main or recognized religions. So, holding any beliefs that are outside of call it the 5 major world religions.
What's that?
Probably Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism.
Oh, so see, that's you being inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Because the Catholics would and the Christians would say that
And Buddhism
those
is also
are pagans are well.
Pagans. Agreed. So, really, it's anything outside of the Abrahamic religions. So anything
that's my
outside
whole
of the Judeo-Christian
thing, though, right?
God.
And it drives me fucking crazy because nobody lives in the same spot.
Yeah.
Everybody, all of the religions believe in a higher power.
They do.
Our languages aren't the same.
Our experiences.
So just because they exactly that, and you just said it, just because they describe something differently doesn't mean that that's not still your God.
Well,
so
and that's where I actually think that the similarities between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, like they all spring from Judaism. They all have the same Old Testament.
Regardless, all I'm saying is, if that is your God that they're talking about,
yeah,
you can't then disrespect it by saying because you interpret it or call it something different, you're a pagan.
Oh, agree with that statement, full-fledged. But that's what Christianity has done since its inception.
Well, right, and we all know that there's never been more deaths by anything else other than religion.
Christianity.
And that's getting even more specific.
Right, but if you tie it to all religions, completely agree with you.
But I will say, before you say Christianity, you got to put Catholicism above that.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? Because Christianity came from Catholicism.
Other way around.
Catholics was like, get that what?
Said other way around. Christianity was around before Catholicism. Christianity was around until the first Holy Roman Emperor. That's when Catholicism was born.
Okay. Well, Rome does have a way of erasing shit. So I might not have known that.
But to your point, yes, there are particular sects that have done more than others from Christianity.
But I feel like even if Christianity was around, once they saw these motherfuckers running around killing motherfuckers that was saying, if you ain't Catholic, get down or lay down, I'm sure it died off for a minute. And then after a while, it was like Christians that wasn't scared to come out and be like, listen, I get what y'all talking about. I'm just not as deep as y'all. You hear what I'm saying? I'm going to call myself a Christian again because y'all are a little too... They're extremists.
It's like, whoa. I was with you until that part.
They're extremists. What? You don't agree? Well, no, I don't know what. Listen, see, that's the thing. It's hard to talk nowadays because I don't know what the
difference in the ideology is.
No. I was gonna say I don't know what the modern term of extremist is.
I mean, I would put evangelical Christians above Catholics at this point, but
see, I don't know the difference in all that. All I do know, though, is a lot of the reason why I say that Catholics are extremists is because a Christian won't deny you the body of Christ.
Catholics will. You're not wrong.
A Catholic will. If you're Catholic for life.
Right.
That's
a
extreme.
gang. You jumped in.
What I'm saying? That's extremist. So I don't know, but that's here nor there. All I'm saying is a new book may bring in more worshipers, followers, or soldiers, even eras in time have to be translated.
Yeah.
So that's how I sum up the conversation.
I hear you. So I think for me, looking at it has been part of like this ongoing transformation, right? And
Right.
I haven't considered myself religious in any kind of doctrine for a very long time. Even when I was at a Catholic school, like I respected it, but I never knew what I believed in that regard. And I think what's different between, say, Maddie and I is that Maddie was raised from first, second grade on Catholic. Like Kevin was the one that brought that stuff to our house. I was past the point of no return. Now, I
do think it's funny that you said that stuff to our house.
But I think that for me was like, again,
beef showed up at the door and
right.
motherfucker brought weed into it.
Well, that was brought too, I'm sure, but anyways, so as I've been, just looking for not necessarily meaning or anything like that, because again, I'm content with where I'm at. But a lot of the modern day take on Norse paganism in particular has been speaking to me. And I talked about it a little bit earlier where, a lot of the Judeo-Christians are about like self-sacrifice and like you do it because it's for the greater good. Norse mythology is more about you do it because it's the honorable thing to do, and in the end it's going to mean more for you too.
Right.
And I think that the takes from that community, from that, I mean, I won't go as far as like the religious side of it, although I do believe in a lot of the same kind of doctrines, but I think it's just more realistic. Like it's more based in reality than I think a lot of the Judeo-Christian doctrines are. Meaning, and I talked about this one a little bit
It's
earlier.
more real, if anything.
Right. And that's where, like, I appreciate the myths. I'm not saying that I believe in Odin and I believe in Thor, but do I believe in those stories and what they mean? The more I read, yeah. Because the difference between, like, the Norse panthology, and again, modern day paganism goes beyond Norse paganism, right? Like, then believing those things. You can include Wicca, you can include witchcraft, you can include all, like, really any of the Native American, like, beliefs and spiritual beliefs and those kind of things. Believing in the elements, believing in those kind of things, like, that's paganism. Where the Norse ones...
I do. I don't know. But what I will not let you do is rock me to sleep. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you to sleep. I thought you'd rock with
No,
this.
I don't mean. I mean, in the sense of how we were talking from the beginning of the show, everybody got rocked to sleep with marriage and shit. That was the way about it. I'm not about to let you rock me to sleep. I don't know enough about what you're talking about to agree or disagree.
And I think that's okay. Like, that's actually one of the tenets, is that it looks different to everybody. Not everybody worships the same entities within Norse paganism and those kind of things. And what I find interesting about it is more about kind of the community aspects of it, the doctrines of it. Like, again, going back to, and you as who you are, being a fighter, being somebody that is not going to lay down for anything, but also being somebody that will fight for their own. Like,
right.
There's a lot of that kind of doctrine within Norse paganism. And a lot of it is around rebirth. And, we were talking the other day, weren't we talking about the fact that New Year is celebrated during the midst of winter when it should be celebrated probably in March.
Right.
Pagans, again, appropriated by Christians in terms of the Yule festival, The Yule Festival was specifically to remind us of the fact that there are better times ahead. That's why it was their version of kind of a New Year, where it was celebrating warmth and sunlight, and that's why there's lights. That's why there's greenery associated with it. Because it's to remind you in the dead of winter that something better is coming. And so, and again, a lot of that was appropriated by Christianity with a lot of Christmas imagery in terms of wreaths and lights and those kind of things. But the purpose of it was, again, to give you hope in the dead of winter that better things were coming. And so it's things like that, and then things like the idea that those communities were centered around helping one another, but only if help was truly needed. No one looked for a handout.
Right.
You either contributed or you didn't. And those who did could share in the spoils, and those who didn't did not. And that didn't necessarily mean there was any animosity towards them, but they were not sharing in those spoils.
Right.
And so a lot of that is just resonating with me right now.
But you see that in real life.
Abso-fucking-lutely, which is why it's resonating with me.
All right. Like, bro, you ain't put it on this, or bro, you ain't, you know what I'm saying? You ain't.
But that's not the Christian. But that's not the Christian thing to do, Cliff. If you truly believe in Christian doctrine, you should be selfless in your giving. I don't necessarily believe you should be selfless. Jesus said, "Turn the other cheek," and I have two. Right. So if at 2 times I've done this for you and you haven't shown me that you know what I'm saying, like willing to even do for yourself. You don't got to do for me. Do for yourself. If the 3rd time comes around, you expect me to do it for you. If that's still Christianity, that's out the window. Right. Go on, get your shit together. Yep. Well, and I do want to chime in because Moms is chiming in the chat, trying to put me on blast here. You picked St. Catherine's. I picked Cliff, Shelby, and Gordon. I did not pick St. Catherine's.
That's how I felt. Who went there first, Shelby?
I think Shelby did.
Man, god damn, I didn't know what I was getting into. Right. It wasn't an awful experience, but I didn't know what I was getting into.
But you guys also got there a year or 2 before I did. Now, I also believe that you guys probably felt a similar way to me. I think I felt it more deeply because at that point, I was not as, and I'm still not, as outgoing or social as you guys were.
Right.
And so I always
You might be more than Shelby.
Maybe. But I always felt like the outcast, the outsider at St. Catherine's. It wasn't until, because at that school, like football,
so small too.
Right. And everybody, and 75% of that class had been going there since kindergarten.
Right.
That community was tight with one another.
You know what?
You couldn't really break down those walls.
Listen, you may never hear me say anything like this ever in my life. Let me tie it all the way back because we coming into Black History Month. But that's another way that you feel how we feel, right? Now, here's the funny thing about it is you said it. That's a Bexley community, and they've all known each other since kindergarten. The only reason why we fit in is because we were the new toys that came to Bexley. we had no black folks like this in here.
No, it was you and like what No, that was
It was.
There were a couple in the class ahead of us, and the class 2 years ahead.
You know what? Our class wasn't that bad though. Now that I think about it, because it was me, Gordon, Shelby, Kevin. You remember Kevin?
Wells?
No.
I was like, wait a minute, he was white.
He said last names and shit. Nah, before he even got there.
I think that was before I was there, because there was not a black Kevin when I got there.
What about Reggie? You know Reggie?
I remember Reggie. I think Reggie left before I was there too.
Okay, I thought he was there to. Yeah, I thought he.
I think he left in 5th grade. Like, I was aware of Reggie, but I wasn't, which is, funny.
Now that I think about it, for a minute there, we had probably at least 33% of the class.
Right. Because there were only like 20 kids in the class.
Right.
Ashley chiming in with, thank goodness y'all came to save me from the insanity she felt in that place.
Oh, I bet Ashley did too, especially like coming from the family she comes from.
Right.
I bet.
Well,
I bet.
And she was an outsider there too.
She was, huh?
But yeah.
See me? I'm inside out.
You're insidious, is what you're saying.
I've always been inside. Well, maybe, but I hope I don't go to hell. And if I do, I hope I'm big enough to take the devil.
There you go. Nice callback. But I mean, kind of taking it back to the conversation, I think a lot of the things we've talked about on this podcast in particular, I think we both hold pagan tenets from conversations that we've had around. We are
very much with the Viking culture. I don't know how much of that goes into the depth that you think. You know what I'm saying?
But here's where I'll take it outside of the Viking culture. I think that based on conversations we've had, and this is me interpreting things that you've said, the fact that we believe that our disconnect from the physical and the physical reality and from nature is a contributor to the walls that we have put up as society and have kept us from
definitely
our home, our values, our things that even pieces of our mind and ourselves that are now walled off because of these physical walls that we put ourselves around, whether that's technology, whether that's, literal physical spaces, etc. I think that some of that attributes back to, native cultures and things that worship the elements, worship nature, like being in tune with those things. And that was actually something interesting too, because Norse mythology and Norse paganism refer to magic, but magic isn't something. It kind of goes back to the original definition of magic, which was basically things that we just didn't understand, but they worked.
Right.
And I think, and it's the same thing with Wicca and witchcraft, right? I've talked about the fact that, when I first got out of college and I was struggling to find a job, my mom gave me a sage pouch to put in my wallet, and I found a job within 30 days.
Right.
Stuff like that changes your mindset.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's even crazy, right? Because immediately when you say things like Wicca and witchcraft, it tenses me up, right? But that's also a part of
the walls that have been put up,
being rocked to sleep, because we do that as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's the different terminologies make it seem but we're still doing the same thing.
You as a Christian are told that the wafer and the wine that you consume are the body and blood of Christ, and that it's transformative for you as a Christian.
Right. It's the
but
same
nothing
thing.
else. But nothing else has that same property.
I'm not even saying that. I'm even saying the sage pouches in the
And yet we talk about burning sage on this show all the time.
And I'll continue to.
Right. That's a pagan belief. I think the word has been demonized because we have come up in a Christian society.
Weren't we all before the construct?
Right.
The institution, so to speak.
And that's my thing, is I don't believe in the institutions of it.
But see, and even going back to that, and I agree with you as well, But even going back to that, you don't agree with the institutions of it because you don't agree with the institution.
Which is fair.
You feel what I'm saying? But if you remove the two, then it would be separate.
There's
but right now, there's animosity towards the institution that goes into that relationship as well.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. Who's to say that the God of Abraham, the God of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, isn't the All-Father, isn't Odin? And it's not separate tales on the same myths.
I don't even know what you just said, to be honest.
So Odin, saying that the God of Christianity, which is the same God.
Who's the God of Christianity?
The all-knowing, all-powerful God, the omnipotent presence. So,
and you said that that's Abraham?
No, I'm saying of Abrahamic religions.
Oh, okay.
So again,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I heard.
Right. So we can break it back down. So God from a Christian construct is largely the same God from the Jewish construct of Judaism.
Right.
And the God from Islam as well.
Right.
Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they all share the same. I'm going to call it the Old Testament from Christianity. It's the Torah in Judaism, and it's the Quran in Islam. Those stories are very much based on the same thing. Right. What I'm saying is that the God of those is largely based on the Norse gods, the Roman gods, the Greek gods,
even the African gods.
Right, Zeus.
There were different
Jupiter,
ones.
Odin.
There was right.
Those are all. There is some all-powerful being that sits at the top of all of those. And so, who's to say that Christians are the ones that got it right versus any of those older ones?
And even if you did get it, it's not to say that you got it right. That's just their interpretation of. Right. That's their perspective of the same thing.
Agreed. So that's kind of my point. Is that
so it's like because you don't speak English, pagan.
Right.
and it's ironic because we treat people like that.
Yeah.
We treat people like that. I do as well. I was on a call today, and don't get me wrong, I love talking to foreign people. Right? Because they're cheery. They're I don't even know how to describe it, right? But when I have to go through a whole script with you,
and
you don't really know, you know English, impressed from a point that I don't know any other language that well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The fact that you can hold this whole conversation and call, I'm abundantly impressed. But what I'm getting at is, and this is me being selfish.
Yeah.
I would prefer we do this call in your native tongue.
If you could. Right.
Right. So if I can get a translator, this would go so much faster. But the fact that I can't, I'm even on the other line, like, come on, like, I'm not like outright saying it, but like as they're like repeating, because I'm not going to interrupt
but you're
you. I'm
seeking
like,
to
oh
understand.
my God, can we get through this, please?
Yeah.
And that's a version of that.
Agreed.
Of because you don't speak English, you're a pagan. So as much as I say I don't want to be rocked to sleep, I already have been.
Right.
I'm just trying to wake the fuck back up.
What I'm waiting for on that front
But they hijacked woke. Now go ahead.
No. On that front, like, we cannot be far off of true universal translators at this point, at least in terms of languages,
like AI?
languages here on Earth. No, I'm talking about, and maybe it is AI, but I also don't think that it requires AI. It might require some machine learning, but not true AI. But there is no reason at this point in our technological development as a society why there are language barriers. Like, there are computer programs that you can speak into that can translate what you're saying into a different language. Like, that should be a mainstay in call centers. Like, hey, would you like to speak in your native language today?
No, I do. Yeah,
Press 1. And it'll just translate. Like, they'll start talking.
Not because they'll
and
charge you $5 if you press
right,
1.
Right. But the thing, well,
I'd rather you struggle with me and save your money in this cold fucking world we live in. I'd rather go through the inconvenience and know that you saved your cash.
Here's the thing, though, is that I don't think most companies would charge for that. I think that what they would do is they would see that as a benefit on operational losses and how long it takes you to handle a call.
What you talking about, Willis?
No, I'm telling you that, and we have call centers where I work too. That would be viewed more about reducing the number of hours that they had to pay you for, Cliff, because you don't have to sit there on a call like waiting for somebody to struggle through if they can speak in their native language and you're hearing it in yours. That's a cost savings.
You know what would be innovative? And I don't want to talk about work, but if we had an automated system that we could type into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you give me a question and you don't have to talk to me. You can press 0, 0, 0, 0 till you get me. But if you ask a question, I can type and say, and then the answer machine lady comes on and says.
But that's where IVR is going. Like, IVR is getting there. It's just people get frustrated with it because it doesn't do it fast enough. And people want the comfort of feeling like they're being heard real time.
Right.
But we're getting to that point.
Nah, because even a person when it says, would you like to chat with the person? That's not a fucking person, bitch. I know that I answered the questions. You made it seem like the bot was the questions only. But once I start typing, it's a bot too, bitch. I know what's going on here.
Right. In terms of like the chat online features, yeah, you're absolutely
all
right.
That. Like, y'all trying to play me. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking to.
Right.
It's not a person.
I know when I get an agent.
Somebody.
I know when I get an agent versus a bot.
Man.
You're not Turing testing me, bitches.
I don't know. But I do feel like motherfuckers hijack woke. And what they did was, it's almost kind of devious, right? You hijack the word woke and you used it so much that you led people to believe that they thought they were. So now that word becomes nails on a chalkboard to your ears, right?
Yeah.
Like, woke, oh my gosh, like that. Because you associate it with.
But there you are putting up your own wall. But there you are putting up your own walls again, Cliff.
But that didn't.
It's rocking you to sleep.
Them down, because while everybody was talking about they was woke, they weren't. They were waking up. But you weren't woke yet.
Oh, the Force Awakens.
They BLM'd it. They Black Lives Mattered it and took it to a point where it was like, yeah, woke. But we weren't there yet. We were just waking up. Now we don't want to hear nothing about woke.
Right.
Don't tell me woke nothing. But bitch, you ain't even rubbed the sleep out your eyes yet. You're still asleep. Wake up. Wake up, Mr. West.
Wake up, Mr. West. Mr. West. So fun fact. Last night, in advance of I have a Friday morning meeting with all of my leaders of people.
Right.
And one of them put in the chat last night, all right, we need something fun. What was Reggie's favorite concert? Or what's Reggie's favorite concert that he's ever been to? And the guesses these people were making were not at all in my wheelhouse. So eventually I put into the chat, y'all got to remember something. I grew up on Livingston and Miller Kelton in Columbus. So y'all putting like the Doors and I don't know what else they put, but they put like a host of other things. And I'm just like, y'all ain't hitting it. Y'all haven't even hit the genre yet. And then one of the guys that's reported, actually, he and I were peers for a long time. He started reporting to me 3 years ago. Was like, Snoop? And I'm like, that's the closest anybody's gotten. And you know what it was? Kanye in 05.
Was it?
Followed closely by the time I took Derek to the T-Wayne concert with T-Pain and Lil Wayne.
Right. I ain't gonna lie, I know we're not supposed to say his name no more, but the best concert I ever went to was the Jay-Z and R. Kelly Best of Both Worlds tour.
I'm so mad I didn't make it to that one.
That motherfucker was crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
Give me that beep, beep.
Listen, the Best of Both Worlds tour.
Running her hands through my phone.
Listen, also,
I can't help it. I will always be a fan of R. Kelly's music and Michael's music. Like, I can't. I'm sorry.
well, you can't put Michael in that boat. R. Kelly, we caught you red-handed, nigga. You was on tape. You was on tape, and we all seen it.
How you gonna make a video about peeing on somebody?
You was on tape, and we all seen it, and it wasn't even like child porn trafficking. It was just R. Kelly's problem.
Right.
But we were still...
Everybody saw that tape.
It was at the bootleg spot. Like, you seen the R. Kelly sex tape? It's a young girl on there.
Trip, trip, trip.
Man, that's crazy.
All right, so hitting up the chat. Is there a Norse equivalent to the golden rule of Christianity, like a single principle that leads the belief construct? I do not know. I have not seen anything up to this point, but I'm still early in my research.
It would lead myself to believe, though, that, and this is going to sound...
I actually probably think it's something about like honor and valor above all else. But
right, like, and then you just summed it up for me, right? Because I was going to say just the upheaval of your brother. Right? Because I need you strong in order for us to be strong. If you're weak to my left, then I'm dead to my left.
Right.
So if there's any way that I can help you to be ready in any situation we're going to face, I have to do so.
Right.
And that also comes back to the point that back then you were fighting for something.
Absolutely.
Now there's no imminent threat other than finances.
Right.
And while that is a threat,
but some of that, but again, that comes back to the social constructs that we've grown up with, right? Is that, yes, that's
but you can't
true.
even live with in a field without finances.
You can't until you have that field.
Finances.
Agreed. You have to have the capital to get to that point.
Right.
Not going to argue that point. I think I want to start my own Viking village somewhere between here and Logan.
Listen,
let me buy 6 acres.
I don't know how much Logan Blacks and how far it is from Livingston.
No, I just mean somewhere between the two. Like, I want a big open empty space. Let me get a couple acres somewhere. Anybody that wants to come and build on my village is welcome. So checking back to the chat. So Ashley chiming in. There is a device that you can talk into that translates, although it's not always accurate. They use it on 90 Day Fiance the other way. Oh, the drama.
Not in no call center, girl.
The Reach chiming in. There are several apps, and then the Reach chiming in.
Right, but not in it's not like something you could tap into like Microsoft Teams at a call center.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we were talking? We were talking about the
call center.
Like,
yep. But
we know you could talk into your phone and hold it to a motherfucker's ear, but
this technology should be the same.
I understand.
It's just how you do that at scale, right? Like I'm sure it's a resource intensive.
Right?
Yeah. And then the Reach chiming in with can't make a TV commercial that isn't multiracial and or non-binary these days. And I don't know what that was in reference to, but
no, I don't know either. But you are goddamn correct.
You know what we used to say when I was in the ad game, and this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago? We need somebody that's racially ambiguous. So anybody could say. We need a light-skinned Latina.
Listen,
we need a light-skinned Latina
it's
because
the whole
they look like
generation of
everybody.
them coming. They've been ramping up their numbers, but coming up, I've contributed to it. They're on their way.
Shout outs to my goddaughter.
Listen, love her to death. But they're on their way.
Oh goodness. All right. I don't know. That's all I had. Oh, but I do want to share as part of my journey and my rebirth. And again, because of investigating the Norse paganism, I'm going to go with my Mjolnir.
What the fuck is that?
It's Thor's hammer, brah. Symbol of rebirth.
I wear mine below my waist.
Well, you're black. You can do that. I thought you called that Cliff's hammer. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Maybe my aura, my spirit, my soul may be bigger than Thor. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, and again, kind of circling back, like I do think that, again, I don't necessarily believe in those deities as deities, but I
know what you mean.
I appreciate
it's
the
good
myths
to preface
behind
it,
them.
though.
Yeah.
But no, I know exactly what you mean. There's no culture that I have resonated with bigger than, well, Spartan and Viking.
Right.
Now, that's also because they don't do a good job of showing us the African, the Zulu culture and all that, because they've beaten some of the Romans and all that as well.
Right.
But they don't do a good job of showing us how or what, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But out of what I've seen,
because
I resonate. Go ahead.
No, because I was going to say because history is written by whoever writes it.
Right.
Africa didn't need
I resonate with the 300 and the Vikings. And before we end the show, the last thing I want to say, and it kind of bothered me, I'm not gonna lie. You know the little curly haired, and I'm sorry because I'm describing him. He's either like Mexican or Filipino, and he always says, "Did you know that?" You know what I'm saying? Like, did you know that Disney was you know, or did you, like, that's how he starts every short
video
out. You know, if I'm gonna send him to you, you'll know if I see him.
Send him to me, and I'm gonna send you the black dude who just like says, "No, we're not gonna do that."
No, I don't know that.
He's more on TikTok.
But he said, "Did you know that there was a?" How did he word it? Did you know that there was a genetic reason for beards or something like that?
Oh, yeah? I'm curious.
Yeah, and he said that beards were evolved. I don't know if he said evolved, but he said beards came from hand-to-hand combat. The people who grow thicker beards usually fought more hand to hand, and the beard protected their chin from contact. They said that 40% chance of a jaw not breaking by a punch to it, as opposed to a beard with no jaw breaking 90% or something like that.
Really interesting.
Immediately, red flags everywhere. I just recognized red flags everywhere. First of all, they only allow you to box as an amateur with a shaved face.
Okay. Is that why?
Now, I don't know if that has something to do with it. But what I'm saying is that glove doesn't stop the impact of that punch. So you'd have a lot of broken jaws on flat faces if that was the case. Beyond that, you said it today, the Native Americans, great warriors, aren't known for beards.
True.
There's so many different cultures. African cultures.
I was about to say, most beards. African cultures don't either.
So it kind of made me feel like, and then beyond that, even going back to the women that fought, if that was the case, then why didn't y'all evolve with a beard after a couple of generations of having women fighters?
Who go swimming with hairy little women.
Right. It just, I don't know. That just threw me. And I thought about it when you said whatever you just said, but
I got you.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it. I hear you.
And that's because I got a patchy joint.
Yeah, me too.
Even still, how does a fucking
I need it right here. This
beard
is what I need
stop
right
me from being able to? I'm sure you could break my jaw with or without a beard. If you could break my jaw. You feel what I'm saying? The fuck are you talking about? That sounds like some weird Homo erectus type shit.
Oh man. Oh, and then little bit in the chat.
Who's a little bit?
Malcolm. I'm a warrior with a beard. Fuck that shit.
See, that is almost.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen Malcolm's Instagram post at this point where he looks super effeminate in that pretty lighting where he's sitting like almost like this. Like, Malcolm, I love you, dude. Nah, son.
I didn't see that. I don't know. It has to be a filter though, but
I'm sure
I've seen that. I've seen people do that. Like, dudes do that.
Right.
And
he has a couple out there.
It looks a little off because
right.
We're older, but maybe that's
how the young bucks do it. I don't know.
Maybe that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? You don't know that they listen. Everybody's dumb, men and women. I'm sure you may be able to get a few with the sparkle on your eye. You know, when you take it or the
that's the thing
gloss.
That's the thing that kills me about all, like, not all, but the majority of like filters on TikTok. They all like add like long eyelashes,
like pretty shit. Like
what the fuck is
make me
this?
Prettier.
I don't need that. Give me that Viking filter every time.
Give me one more Norse mythology fact, and I'm about to piss and be right back.
Oh, so give it to you while you're pissing. We could have just ended the show, bruh. Talk about Thor. Talk about Fenris. Fenris, the wolf that was summoned by the gods to be a guardian. He turned on someone. I think that's what interests me about a lot of the, I'm going to call it the ancient religions, is that they aren't faultless. They aren't mistake free. And that to me resonates more than, you know, the myths that we've put around Jesus. And I think depending on what you read in terms of going beyond the Bible and some of the other books that were written, like, Jesus had a temper. There's the story of, you know, him tearing down the tables and everything in the temple with the Pharisees and those kind of things. And, like, we don't embrace the faults in those religions, in the Abrahamic religions, the way that faults are embraced in a lot of the older religions, the ancient religions. And so by not embracing those faults, because we as human beings are flawed people. We all have faults.
Amen.
And I think that's where some of the ancient religions versus the Judeo-Christian religions resonate more, is that the gods were imperfect, like humans are imperfect. And I get the idea that you want the figure at the head of a religion to be perfect because that's what you should worship, that's what you should try to emulate. But again, it's not realistic.
That's interesting that you say that. I almost kind of need to listen back to what I missed because that's very interesting that you say that. But at the same time, and you know what?
I mean, you caught the summary of it, which was the Judeo-Christian religions paint this picture of perfection and paint this perfection with self-sacrifice. That's not human nature.
But regardless, right? And I will say this. If you're to think about, and this is just our little world we live in.
Yeah.
Just our little world called Earth. As big as it is to us, it's microscopic to the meaning of things.
Yeah.
But as balanced as everything is for us to be able to exist on this little rock called Earth, think about the expansion of. And I'm not saying that the higher power is perfect for this conversation we're having, because I do believe he is, or she is, or whatever it is. But what I will say is, in order for you to be able to construct all of that, and you know, some people believe in the Big Bang, but where did that come from as well?
Yeah. Well, it's from the Infinity Stones. They just
right. But in order for you to construct all of that, if you're not perfect, you're the closest thing we have to. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I gotta rock.
No, I hear you. And I think what's interesting for me is that, like, the God of the Old Testament, I think, is more relatable than the God of the New Testament. Because the God of the Old Testament was vengeful.
Yeah, I agree. But that doesn't mean that, and it's all perception. That doesn't mean that anything changed. Maybe just the perception of.
Yeah. So,
if one thing that we can prove is that we've gotten softer over time. There's no, whether the women have gotten more masculine or whatever you want to try to, we've gotten as a whole softer over time.
Yeah.
So, of course, the interpretation is going to change, and I'd imagine that it would even way back in those days.
Right. Well, yeah, when you were moving from being nomadic tribes to tribes that were built around civilizations, etc.
Listen.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just going, and that's why you can't, and my advice to everyone else, don't let them rock you to sleep.
Eyes wide open.
With anything, I think it's very healthy to question, even if it comes down to questioning religion. If that question helps you understand, I don't see an issue with questioning. I don't see how, because even the Bible kind of frames it like to even question is enough for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And It's like, I'm not questioning anything.
Well, again, because those mass religions were established to control the population.
Right. I'm just saying, in a world where we've been lied to, how could you fault anyone that came up in it for questioning?
Completely agree.
That's a whole generation of lost soldiers or angels or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do, to round it all back, I do agree that there should be more modern passages in what we consider scripture. I'm not going to be as far as to say Bible, because maybe, I don't know. I don't know, everyone. Like, subscribe.
Shit.
Shit, that's
Tell
all
a friend,
I'm saying.
tell a friend. Tell an enemy, tell him to troll. Love
Listen.
everybody.
Love everybody.
And Malcolm, you ain't Prince, dog. And with that, peace out, fools.
Who?